vostra fede sia lievito qui in Vaticano, perché era come avere...
Do you love me? Then thank you very much.
Lasciandovi nello stesso tempo.
What if I told you the Pope, the symbol of humility and spiritual purity, was secretly sitting on a fortune worth billions? Yes. While millions see him as a humble servant, behind the scenes, he might have been pulling the strings of a hidden financial empire worth up to $15 billion. Imagine the shocking truth: the leader of the Catholic Church, living a life far from what we expect, with secret riches, hidden assets, and a world of power concealed beneath his robes. Today, we're exposing the startling secrets of how the Pope secretly spent and possibly hoarded his billions, and what it reveals about faith, wealth, and corruption at the highest level. If you think you know the story, think again. Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought about the Vatican. The Vatican's financial empire is a well-guarded secret, cloaked in centuries of tradition, diplomacy, and a complex web of institutions. Estimates suggest its assets range between $10 billion and $15 billion, encompassing over 5,000 properties worldwide, including some of the most valuable real estate in London, Paris, Geneva, and beyond. This staggering wealth is not held in bank accounts like a corporation's cash stash, but is instead tied up in a variety of long-term investments, real estate holdings, and cultural treasures. The Vatican museums alone generate tens of millions annually from ticket sales, gift shops, and art sales. Meanwhile, global donations through initiatives like Peter's Pence fund the church's charitable activities, supporting refugees, disaster relief, and aid in conflict zones. Yet, with such wealth comes scrutiny. Critics have long accused the Vatican of operating in secrecy, hiding assets behind layers of opaque banking operations, offshore accounts, and complex property deals. The institution's financial dealings remain a mystery to many, protected by centuries-old diplomacy and diplomatic immunity. Efforts to reform the system have been ongoing, but the entrenched nature of these financial practices makes transparency a challenging goal. Pope Francis, a man of humility in a wealthy institution. Enter Pope Francis. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, he's a man whose life and reputation stand in stark contrast to the Vatican's opulence. Long before ascending to the papacy, Francis was known for his modest lifestyle. He lived in a small apartment in Buenos Aires, cooked his own meals, and traveled by bus. When he became pope in 2013, he refused the traditional papal palace, opting instead for a modest suite in the Casa Santa Marta. He famously declined the luxurious papal attire, eschewing the heavily embroidered robes, golden slippers, and ornate accessories that his predecessors often flaunted. Instead, he greeted the world in a simple white cassock, signaling a message of humility and service. His lifestyle was a deliberate rejection of the Vatican's historic culture of privilege and wealth. Even as Pope, Francis refused to indulge in personal luxury. He declined the papal salary, estimated at around $400,000 annually, choosing instead for the church to cover his essential expenses. His personal gifts were often donated or redirected to charitable causes, and he frequently voiced critique of clergy who indulged in material excess. When bishops and cardinals drove luxury cars, Francis publicly condemned such displays of wealth, emphasizing that clergy should serve, not seek comfort or status. His daily choices, making surprise phone calls to ordinary people, eating in communal dining halls, carrying his own briefcase, weren't just gestures of humility. They were a profound statement. Francis wanted the world to see that true leadership isn't about privilege, but about service. One of the most striking aspects of Pope Francis's approach to wealth was his active redistribution of resources. When he received expensive or luxurious gifts, such as a custom Lamborghini Huracan in 2017, he didn't keep or display them. Instead, he signed the car's hood and auctioned it off, donating the nearly $1 million proceeds to rebuild Christian communities in Iraq, support victims of human trafficking, and aid outreach efforts in Africa. Similarly, he passed along ornate religious items, designer clothes, and jewelry to charities or missions. His philosophy was clear: wealth is a tool for impact, not indulgence. Under his leadership, the Vatican adopted stricter financial controls, implemented audits, and capped spending within departments, an effort to curb excess and promote transparency. He often asked, "Who needs this more than we do?" A simple question that encapsulated his approach to managing the church's immense assets. Whether it was redirecting donations or controlling the flow of money, Francis saw wealth as a means to serve the vulnerable, not as a personal or institutional trophy. Transforming the Vatican's financial culture was no easy feat. The institution's deep-rooted traditions, centuries of secrecy, and powerful factions within the church resisted change. When Francis took the helm, he inherited an opaque system riddled with corruption, offshore accounts, and suspicious transactions. One of his boldest moves was to overhaul the Vatican Bank, known as the Institute for the Works of Religion, IOR. Once a shadowy entity accused of money laundering and shady offshore dealings, the IOR was subjected to external audits, stricter compliance standards, and the closure of suspicious accounts. He even issued a decree stripping the Secretariat of State, one of the most powerful offices, from its financial autonomy after a disastrous $400 million real estate deal in London exposed mismanagement and possible fraud. Under Francis, the Vatican began releasing annual budgets and financial statements for the first time in decades, a significant step toward transparency. Yet, resistance persisted. Some departments dragged their feet. Entrenched interests sought to protect the old ways. Despite setbacks, Francis remained committed, emphasizing that transparency was not just a policy but a moral duty. His efforts weren't just about cleaning house, they were about restoring moral credibility. In a world where many religious leaders are embroiled in scandal, Pope Francis aimed to demonstrate that true power resides in service and integrity, values that transcend wealth. The legacy of a humble leader. When you look at Pope Francis's life, his simple attire, his modest travel choices, his redirecting of luxury gifts, you see a man who uses his position to challenge the status quo. His life sends a powerful message. True power isn't about what you own, but about what you give away. His approach has sparked a global conversation about wealth, privilege, and morality within religious institutions. Is it possible for a church with billions in assets to serve the poor without becoming part of the corrupting allure of wealth? Francis's actions suggest yes. He demonstrates that leadership rooted in humility and service can exist even within the world's wealthiest institutions. Whether admired or questioned, one thing is clear: Pope Francis has redefined what it means to lead with integrity. His life is a testament to the idea that genuine influence, spiritual or otherwise, comes from giving, not accumulating. The story of Pope Francis and the Vatican's billions is more than just a tale of wealth and power. It's a lesson in humility, reform, and the true meaning of leadership. Amidst the riches, Francis chose simplicity. Amid the opulence, he chose service. His legacy challenges us to reconsider what it means to lead, whether in faith, business, or life. As we reflect on his approach, one question remains. In a world obsessed with material wealth, can we find strength in humility? Can true leadership be measured not by possessions, but by the impact we leave on others? If this story has challenged your perceptions, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines, and share your thoughts below. What surprised you most about Pope Francis's secret financial life?